You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into a special edition of the Locked On Rays podcast. Myself, Kevin Weiss, alongside Ulises Sambrano. And today we have a very special guest. Ulises, I think we can go on record and say this guest has the largest social media following of anybody we've had on.
Maybe,
be
yeah.
It a
Not
fellow,
necessary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be it a fellow broadcaster or we've had many players and prospects on and executives and so forth. And this one takes the cake. Charlie, who is the proprietor of, if you're a user of Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Internet HOF, at Internet HOF, Internet Hall of Fame, 2.7 million followers.
Mm-hmm. Just hit that today.
That's amazing, amazing stuff. And you're only,
thank you.
I mean,
18.
you're only 18.
Yeah, it's
That's
pretty good start. You know, I mean, I have good people all around me. You know, nobody's turning me in the wrong direction. You know, they want me to turn this into something better than it is. You know, propel it into something
better yet. You're a huge Tampa Bay Rays fan.
Yeah, that people really don't understand that sometimes. You know, it's almost like, in an ironic sense, you know, somebody with this many views is rooting for a team that gets like the smallest amount of views.
Now, so, is that something that you try to get your bias as a Rays fan to?
Yeah.
You get your followers to kind of see a little bit more of the Rays media or Rays stuff out there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a pretty big baseball fan the past few years. It's kind of been just increasing over the years. You know, I live 45 minutes from the stadium, which helps. You know, the bridge isn't too bad, but I just want people to know that I'm a Rays fan and I know how like little attention we get. So I try to like use my following to boost that. And, you know, that could lead to anything. I mean, I already have like at least some sort of baseball, whatever the word is. I mean, you got Gavin Lux, you got Brian Pepio, you got all of these like big MLB guys like following me. And that feels really good, even though they're not following me as a person, they're following me as like what I do. And that's also, you know, that backs it up pretty well.
Question, have the Rays ever reached out to you or inquired about some sort of collaboration? Because you have basically 4 times the
and I
followers
make sure to
that they have
make sure I'm a fan of the page. You know, I like maybe 80% of the posts if it pops up on my feed. You know, I try to make it pretty clear without, you know, boasting it out or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And without going, go ahead, Ulises.
No, I'm thinking so. You said 2.7 mil as of this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when did you start this? Why did you start this? Why did you keep going? Give us a little bit of background.
How did you become Internet Hall of Fame, basically?
It's definitely a long story, but I can sum it up pretty quickly. Around 3 years ago in January, I was just playing around on Twitter, you know, like any other 15-year-old would. And I was just messing around, emailed a big account or DM'd, trying to make friends with him. And then after a while, I was able to get a retweet from him, got a few thousand followers, and then another retweet, made another account after a month. That got like 100,000 followers. It was basically growing itself. And then after that, I kind of just, it was account and then account and then account. But around October in 2021, all of our accounts got suspended. And up to that point, we had like 1 million followers. So that was a bit of a letdown. Came back a few months later, started doing it all over again. And then in August, we had maybe 400,000 followers combined. I remember this account called Internet Hall of Fame. It was kind of like best headlines, but I wanted to remake that and just kind of see what I can do with it because we weren't doing great. That took a few days for us to get what we're trying to do. But once we got that, it was like 100K, 50K, 100K, 100K, 100. I was paying these big, can't say much about this against the rules, but I was paying bigger accounts to kind of repost me. And, you know, that was a cut out of my expenses since we were getting paid nothing for everything. But it just kept growing and growing. Other than like a 1 month little like shadow ban, it's just been consistent numbers, you know. And it's just definitely been, it's like kind of changed me, who I am, because, you know, no random 16, 15-year-old just gets this kind of account. And knows what to do with it. But I feel like I've managed it pretty well. And I don't know if you guys heard much about it. Like when the big Twitter payouts came out.
Um, vaguely, if you want
Yeah.
to elaborate
Well,
further. Yeah.
it was pretty new to me. They talked about it and everything. We kind of knew like, oh, maybe get like 5,000-10,000 if we're lucky. And then it comes out of nowhere. I'm just like fumbling on my phone, just freaking out because this one account who gets more than me got like 30,000. I'm like, damn, I got to get like 20. And after a few hours, I'm trying to log in my account. And then I've already said this, so it's not really new news, but I log into my Stripe account and it's like 107,000. And I'm like, whoa. And that was definitely changed the trajectory of the account and how Twitter, went off of that, because it's up to, as far as my knowledge, that was almost threefold the biggest payout that anybody even got. And it was it was.
So I don't know really how to frame this or ask this, but do you need to work, or is this kind of what your career path is, running this X account?
Yeah, I think it's definitely I wouldn't go for it. Like most of the things that I do, I wouldn't go for it any aspirations thinking that you're going to be, I don't mean this in like an egotistical way, but you're going to expect this kind of like success to an extent and like this kind of production. Just do it as a joke. That's what I did. I just did it for fun. And if it comes out of something, great. But I don't think I'm going to be pursuing college in the near future. But for everybody else, I think college is a little great idea to find out what you really want to do, because this is not a job. It's just an occupation that pays a decent amount of money. And I don't like to treat it like a job.
So, okay, you like to treat it like a job.
I don't know. I like to treat it like just an occupation.
Okay. So how many hours do you take into getting this account, posting this account, replying, all those stuff? Like, how much time do you put into this?
I probably put in a decent amount more than I should, because I use Twitter just like anybody else, just scrolling. But I mean, I use Reddit. I mean, I would say Reddit's the best for content on Twitter, because it's all reposted and everything. But it's it kind of just runs itself. I mean, I spend maybe 2 hours a day looking for posts. It's not easy. You have to go through all these subreddits and everything, but it kind of just becomes a science. And I have a guy who I'm paying a certain amount of money to help me with this specific thing. And that kind of helps with stress. And we have another software called Buffer. You basically put the times when you want to post each day. You just go Q, and then you got like posts for the rest of the day. And that was a game changer for me, especially during the night when I can't post. It's
right.
We've gotten better at it, we get better at it, but it's not easy, but I'm not going to say it's hard,
So how many people are working on this account?
Just me and somebody else who lives in a different country, but my trust with him is just, it's very transparent. We know how to talk to each other. If I see something that's not doing good, I'll tell him, and he'll do the same to me. And we just work off of each other, which helps us quite a bit, because you need a good relationship if you're working with any amount of money, pretty much.
Yeah, like Kevin Cash and Eric Neander and Stu Sternberg, the triumvirate there. Before we get into some Rays discussion, because you are a Rays fan and follower, is there somebody that follows the account that you're like, that's pretty awesome, that this celebrity or this public figure is checking and liking my stuff?
There's a few. There's not a single standout, but it kind of just like all of them are like, damn, that's pretty cool. I mean, I can't list them all off the top of my head, but I mean, Anthony Starr, I'm sure you know him, guy, Homelander. What's his? Pete Buttigieg followed me for about a year. One of the campaigns. John Cena, Randy Olsen, just a lot of big guys. Casey Neistat, a bunch of YouTubers, but there's not that one standout, but all of them really, add up. And it's just their presence alone is just way more than I could even fathom of getting. Because they're working on like actual people. I mean, what's calculated for my Twitter is just views. I mean, I can't do much with that, but these are like real people that follow these people and have so much support for them. And then those same people enjoy what I post, and I find that pretty cool.
Yeah.
It
Now,
happens.
moving a little bit into race baseball. Now, you said you're 45 minutes away from the stadium. So you're in the area. How did you get involved with the team? I mean, has it been something since you were a kid? You also did mention that it had been growing a little bit recently. Like, tell us about your race fandom.
Well, I mean, obviously being near the stadium, it was kind of like just go to the game every once a year for fun, because they weren't great when I was, kind of like in my 13, 14, even 15. But once my brother plays baseball pretty much all the time, and as my family was a Red Sox fan, I was kind of like into baseball, but I never really got into it. But once like that 2019 Rays team came out, we were like, ooh, this is getting pretty exciting. And then 2020 comes out. We don't watch pretty much any of the preseason. We did go to the last game, like in all of baseball, before COVID shut everything down. I mean, we were at there, and they're like, yeah, they just canceled the rest of the season, and we're completely confused. And this is a regular spring training game. But I mean, 2020 was awesome. I think about the ALCS more than the World Series just because of what we did. But I mean, 2021 almost, surpassed 2020 in terms of like production, since 60 games isn't anything to brag about. Then 2022, I was focusing on it, but not as much. And in 2023, that 13 game winning streak, I went to 4 of those games, and maybe went to 20 Rays games this season. It's growing, even I may meet some Rays just because of my profile, and I can spend a little bit more money on tickets and having people come with me. So I think it's going to be a process that keeps building, and I think it's going to be, top of the mountain this year with all that's coming on, because I feel good about the team. I feel really good about it.
Yeah. What are your expectations for this year? I mean, there's obviously been a lot of changes and trades and movement, but adding some unique profiles as well. Just what are you kind of looking for this upcoming year in 2024?
Well, I think, I'm kind of like on the side of where if Rays didn't win 13 to begin the season, so-and-so, I think that's kind of like they're going to be a better 94 win team than that 99 win team was, because that 99 wins was kind of boosted by the 13 games they started, the season with. Right. We're waiting on all the 3 pitch, or at least Rasmussen and Springs, but I mean, we got Baz, we got everything. We got Bradley, we got Pepiot, we got Littell. I mean, we got everybody, man. I mean, I just think we have to keep up in the AL East pretty much. We're not going to make those blockbuster moves, but we're going to make those like blockbuster headlines of how good we can be, because the Rays are it's hard to fall out of love with them. It grows, man. It's fun watching the team. It's really fun.
Is there something that concerns you about the 2024 season?
I think it's kind of, I would say the starting pitching, only because it's only going to be great if they reach like near their ceilings. Because being in the AL East, some of these guys are going to be kind of new to pitching this competitive, is such a competitive game that the young guys and even the experienced guys are just going to be kind of overwhelmed by how just competitive the AL East is. And that's just kind of, playing all those games is just going to kind of build up their ERA a little bit. But you also need that because experience is better than almost anything you can find. So I would say the starting pitching, starting the season for sure. Last season, it was a complete opposite, because, you had all those 5 guys, and then pretty much everybody fell down like dominoes.
Yeah. Right. So you mentioned kind of going to more games nowadays than when the team wasn't so good when you were a teenager, 13, 14, 15 years old, whatever it is. So what's kind of your expectation for this year of how many games you plan to go to? Are you just trying to go to as many as you want? Do you have a season ticket package? Kind of what's your prognostication?
Funny that you mentioned it. I do have the season tickets, and mistakenly I bought the $750 credit because I read it for some reason as like you get you can choose any games, as many as you want. You can bring up to 5 people for this amount. And with the season tickets being like, if you bought three season tickets, it'd kind of be go to any game with 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense, but now I just kind of have like free range to go to any game and invite anybody I want. But I'll just use that $750 to invite people when I do, and just use a season ticket for myself, of course. But I would say probably like between 25 and probably like 35. So a definite increase.
Wow.
Now, do you want to blow up your spot where you like to sit at the trop, or you want to keep that a little bit on the secret?
I'm pretty sure I just got a standard seat. I mean, as it's been shown, Ray's like attendance isn't anything to be blown away by. So we're probably just gonna get away by sitting wherever we want, or at least see where open seats are. And if we have to move, we have to move. And if we need to, we go sit where we were supposed to sit. But I would say I don't even know. I haven't even checked because I have no information about it yet.
It's a little different because I mean you have such a big following, but people may not necessarily know what you look like. I guess where I'm trying to get at is, do you ever get recognized out in the wild at a Rays game?
Absolutely no.
Was this
never even in public, not even like a look, because this is the most I've shown. My eyes could look completely different than what people may see. It'd be cool, but I don't want it to get not really out of control. But if I do grow my actual
persona
person, it's going to be a little bit different because I'm not behind this account now. Everybody knows what I look like, and I mean, at our peak, we're bringing in over 1 billion impressions a week. So if even a 10th of 1% know what I look like, I mean, that's what 10 million. That's 1 million people that know what I look like.
Yeah.
From 0 to 1 million, and then those people, it's going to grow. It's only going to grow, unless my page just dies out of nowhere. I mean, it's only going to grow.
I can tell you that's probably not going to happen because you're always on the For You page. So
I bet. Yeah, I've never met anybody who is just a follower. People follow me because they know me and they follow me since they're my friends. But it would be cool. And I mean, we haven't done ads is pretty bad on Twitter, and we've been staying off that for months. And I would definitely recommend that to anybody trying to start an account. Ads is only going to kill your page. The algorithm is for accounts that are just what they mean and what they're supposed to show, nothing else. It's just not. It doesn't translate it to success. Short-term success, you're only focusing on that, and not long-term success, which is just keeping the account clean and having a decent enough reputation to make a good amount of money.
Right.
You should do Internet 101 class YouTube videos for us boomers here.
Oh, I've been told that
some of what you're explaining or talking about, but it's like that makes sense. We should do that. So
honestly, I was thinking, I'm thinking okay, what is he saying that we could use for a Locked On Rays Twitter account?
Twitter is different because, on Instagram, there's some methods to growing, but the method I use is like 3 years old. So my information into how to grow isn't it's also Twitter. Twitter is like, you can have 10 followers and get 1 million likes if you really have a good post. I mean, you have to have somebody who follows you to actually pick you up a little bit, but it's just it's hard to teach. It's not like a class. I've been told oh, you can do this and this and make so much, but I feel like I wouldn't be providing anywhere near the money that they paid for the information that I'm trying to explain.
That makes sense.
Now, I mean, I've explained it so many times, and just people they're like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to in any ways kind of take people's money away for, my information and lose my reputation.
Now, going back to the Rays for a little bit here, who is your all-time favorite player?
I mean, my brother was a pretty big Evan Longoria fan for a while, but when he went to the Giants, that kind of shifted away. I mean, I watched the game 162, and from the 8th inning on, pretty much every clip I got goosebumps. I mean, that game was unbelievable. And I would have to say Evan, but I would have to say Evan. Nobody soon, because of how short people play in the Rays, nobody has like really grown to me as much as watching him when I was young did. It's just we need that cornerstone player, and not to name who shall not be named.
Right.
We lost that guy.
Yeah.
And now we're just waiting for the next one to pop up.
Now, if only Randy Rosarena can stay in the Rays uniform for the next 10 years,
so,
then maybe he's that guy.
Yeah, hopefully, right? Now, you being obviously having an incredibly big account on Twitter, how did you actually hear about Locked On Rays?
Well, I mean, I think I was just looking up something Rays, and then you guys popped up, and I'm like, oh, it's nice to see people who care about the Rays as much as you guys do, to make like as many videos as you guys do, to have dedication to a team that I myself care a lot about. So it was just seeing it on the search feed, and I was like, wow, like this is interesting. I can sit here for 40 minutes and watch these guys talk about what I love to hear about, and that's kind of like my incentive of wanting to be on here. I'm not gaining anything. I just like talking to people that have very similar interests in me, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, when you first reached down and followed me on X, Twitter, I was like, "Is this? Am I getting punked right here? What's going on? I don't know. Am I getting? Did I get like where some of these reporters they retweet or repost things from like fake accounts? I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. There's like, oh no, it's legitimate. I mean, it's got all the verifications and everything.
I'm sure it's a little bit of a surprise. And Ulises, right? No offense to you, but I mean, I was just going off of who seems more active, because I would prefer like I didn't know who's been on Twitter and more and everything. So I just decided to direct message the first person who kind of seems more active and likely to.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I do believe Kevin is a little bit more active on the Twitter sphere.
Ulysses a little bit more on the Instagram side, probably. So
that's fair.
Awesome.
Instagram's fun, but
we have to kind of divvy up the social media between ourselves, and I think that's kind of what we've laid. Yeah.
I mean,
now this season, who are you most excited to watch? Be it an established player like a Randy, or maybe give me two names. Like which established player you really looking forward to popping off this season, and a prospect that you're encouraged by or really looking to see take the next step this year.
Well, I mean, off the bat, I gotta go Josh Lowe. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, not an amazing 2022. He didn't play much, but 2023, what did he hit? 290. I saw a tweet about how somebody had a certain amount of OPS, stolen bases, average, and home runs more than him, and it was Ronald Acuna Jr. He put up arguably one of the best offensive seasons we've seen in a long time, and just innovating the game. Stolen bases just completely took off. 40-70. We haven't even seen 30-60 and hardly anything near it. It's just a guy who's almost five tool, minus the fielding runs. But I mean, Josh Lowe is something else. He's basically saying what Julio Rodriguez is saying about his sophomore season, being like, we can do better than that. And I love to see that, a guy who's done so well, let alone saying, yeah, I'm going to do better than that next season. I can't not hope that he's going to do very well.
What about a prospect?
Prospect, that one's a bit different because, the obvious go-to answer would be Caminero. But I want to see, do we have who do we have now for catchers in the minors? Alex Jackson.
And friend of the program, Logan Driscoll.
Yeah. And then Dominic Keegan, who I think is probably a little bit further away, but he's up there on the prospect list as well.
Sure. So. I would love to see one of those guys come up at some point and then put up really good numbers, because we haven't had that catcher since, Zunino's 2020, of course, Darno's little tenure with the Rays. But I mean, realistically, it's either Caminero or, isn't Shane Baz technically a prospect?
We'll give you that label. I mean, he might have slightly
the Shane
graduated, but it's
Bradley.
basically it's been a long time. He hasn't pitched
Yeah.
many innings in the big, so
Yeah.
I would still give him that label.
Because I know he's probably not going to go out there and pitch over 100 innings, especially his track record of at least injuries, not being reliable the past few years, which isn't his fault. Great pitcher. That comes with playing the game. But either him or Bradley, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing an improvement, because Bradley, first season, it's not always supposed to be good, because so many guys have had a mediocre first season and just go out and perform, the next 5-6 years. And if we can get a few years out of Bradley or Baz that are good and just hard to replace, I have to be looking forward to that out of those two.
So give us a prediction for how the Rays were going to end the 2024 season.
I'm going to go 95-67. I think the Orioles are going to take a tiny step back, but they're still going to be, I think, overall well-rounded, a little bit of a better team, because I can't go out after, how last season ended saying that the Rays are going to beat the Orioles or something, because I think the Orioles have a very, very good team on their hands. And with what they just did with the owners, I mean, that's scary. That's scary to me, that how much potential they have. I think so. 95-67. I think the Orioles are going to be 97-65. Yankees are going to, I think they're going to have a pretty strong season, and then kind of, normally, at least what they did last year, kind of fall off a little bit. So maybe like 93 wins, and then you got the Blue Jays in fourth and Red Sox in fifth. Basically almost the same as last year, just kind of flip-flopping the Yankees a bit, because how much they've added this year.
Fair enough.
Now, if only the Rays could win the World Series.
Yeah.
Before the new stadium comes about, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we can do it while either Neander or Cash is under employment, I think that's a win. Because if we get a World Series and then we have a stadium that's coming in a few years, I mean, the future would look fantastic. We just got to lock it in and show all the haters, that we're a very good team, and that we're not just chokers in the playoff, and that we can actually win something and not have all these records and pictures to show for it, and that it's not a waste. Because
that's true. That's true. How can people follow your account? I know we've talked about it, but I just plug it a little bit more so that people know what you're about.
I post, of course, some Internet Hall of Fame. I post kind of internet related stuff. It doesn't really matter when it was posted, as long as it has relevance and significance and has some sort of humor or kind of point. I post it. It's hard to. Internet Hall of Fame is such kind of like a broad term, because it's basically everything. I could post anything and technically call it Internet Hall of Fame, but it's mostly just kind of interactions or moments in time that could be looked on for a very long time with significance, and that have an impact on the future and how everything goes. But I mean, if you're really interested, of course the tag is right there, but if not, no worries. I mean, I think it's, I'd love the support, but if no worries, if not.
You have a large enough following.
I didn't want to say that specifically. I didn't want to say that directly.
I'll say it for you.
Kevin can say it for you.
Yeah. Final question, and then we'll wrap up here. Just to humanize Charlie a little bit. Besides running one of the most well-known social media accounts and watching Rays baseball, what else do you like to do for fun as far as in the way of hobbies and interests?
I kind of wanted to mention this a bit earlier, kind of like earlier in the day when I was thinking about the interview or the podcast. I wanted to, I don't have the most crazy life. I try to keep it pretty toned down. I mean, other than Twitter, I kind of live a pretty, standard basic life. I'm living with my parents, trying to save rent money. I played tennis for 5 years, and I do, as a baseball fan, I'm very into baseball, and I think that if there's a single Rays associate watching this at all, I just want it to be known. I don't work out much, and I can still top out at 80 for not playing baseball for maybe until I was like 16 or so, which I think that's pretty good. You know, I don't work out or anything. I'm about 6'2", and I kind of have that tall frame, and I could still pump 80 as well as some of these big guys. So if anybody at the Rays is thinking about taking an experiment on me or whatever in the next few years, I'm totally for it, because I just want to see where this. I mean, I played tennis for 5 years. I kind of built up that forearm, and you know, it's not just fastball. You know, I have slider, bit of a changeup, and a couple other pitches. And I think that if I did it younger and I put all my time into that instead of tennis, you know, I could be doing pretty well.
You can
at least speed wise. But then I wouldn't have this because it, you know, timeline.
Kevin, Charlie could have changed Internet Hall of Fame for Baseball Hall of Fame.
I know that. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple reps with Kyle Snyder in the Rays pitching lab. You're good to go.
I would love nothing more than that. Whatever he had to say. I don't care if he said, you know, throw at 50 miles an hour. I'd listen to the guy because of his track record and what he could do, because I don't really have like a low, because it's just kind of like all up from here. This is basically my starting point, you know, throwing pretty well. So if I really put it in, I think, you know, I have no expectations to even sniff any sort of like professional baseball. But I think that maybe in the future, I could at least be somewhat known as like just known kind of like the baseball community, and somebody who does these meetup interviews. You know, we're going to try to start another podcast with another baseball YouTuber, maybe start touring spring training next year if it's that developed enough, and kind of just grow my love for the game of baseball to everybody, and especially such a team that's so underloved and underappreciated. I want to grow that support, because like as of 3 years ago, I was kind of some normal standard 15-year-old kid, and now I can actually support and talk to the people I look up to and get some advice from them. And like I said, grow my love and passion for this game that is just taking over my love for any kind of sport, because nothing comes close to it. I really do enjoy this team and what they put out every single year.
At the very least, the Rays should have you throw out the first pitch.
That would be, I mean, I think I would probably have a heart
goal.
attack. I'm kind of an anxious guy. I don't think the build up, like the week, like coming up to it, I don't think I'd be able to sleep, because I'd be over exaggerating, over everything, overthinking everything when it's just a simple pitch, because you have to mean something to throw out that first pitch. And to me, that would just be the ultimate, like, this is fucking cool, like this is a dream come true.
Yeah, let's just put it out in the universe. Let's just put it out in the universe, and maybe that can happen. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us. I do not feel at all slighted that I was not the one that you contacted, but I will let it go. I will let it go, Charlie. We are still friends. We're still okay, all right?
Of course.
All right.
I hope I didn't burn any bridges.
No, you are good.